Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the meeting of the Georges River Local Planning Panel for 16th of June 2022. My name is Juliette Grant and I am the chair of this panel today. The panel is currently streaming live from the council offices in McMahon Street, Hurstville. The panel members who make up the panel today with me are John Brockhoff, expert member, Milan Maricic, another expert member, and Fiona Prodramou, being our community representative on this panel. We are the panel who have been appointed by the Minister for Planning to determine specified development applications, including the development applications that are on the agenda today, in accordance with the requirements of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act. The panel acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land on which this meeting is being broadcast as that of the Bidjigal people of the Eora Nation. I'm required to advise you under the provisions of the Environmental Planning and Assessment Act 1979, this meeting of the panel is being live streamed and will be made available on Council's website. In accordance with the revised meeting protocols during COVID, interested parties wishing to make representations to the panel were requested to register a summary of their interests. A total of 3 registrations were received and forwarded to the panel. The panel have reviewed the registrations and advised the council officers they wish to hear oral submissions from the following people, who will be called during the course of this meeting in order of the items as published on council's website. Those parties for item number 1 is Anders Idestrom. Also for item number 1, Chris Palmer, and for the third item, Palmerston Street, Gillian Sneed, Benjamin Whittam and Andrew Nicole. The panel have received completed assessment reports from council staff for 4 development applications. The panel have undertaken the inspection of the sites and nearby locality for these 4 matters today. We will deal with each application in order as published on council's website, this being DA 2021/0007 for 18 Letitia Street, Oatley, demolition works and alterations and additions to a mixed-use building containing retail premises and shop-top housing. DA 2021/0002 for 18A Letitia Street, Oatley, demolition works and alterations and additions to a mixed-use building containing a retail premises used as a licensed premises and shop-top housing. DA 2021/0284 for 17 Planthurst Road, Carlton, rear alterations and additions to an existing place of public worship. And Mod 2022/0025 for the property at 2 to 10 Palmerston Street, Colborough. Modification of consent DA 112/2017 for the construction of a residential flat building, commercial unit and service departments over basement parking. As required by the Local Planning Panel Code of Conduct, panel members are required to disclose any conflicts of interest in respect of any matter on the agenda for a panel meeting. The relevant forms as prescribed by the New South Wales Department of Planning have been completed and are tabled for council to be included in the online minutes of the meeting. No panel member has disclosed a conflict of interest in any matter on today's agenda. I will make a brief note that the 2 items for Letitia Street have been submitted. The architect is Innovate and Cameron Jones is an alternate community representative on this panel. Cameron has not been involved in this panel today or any consideration regarding that matter. As we progress through the matters on the agenda, only those persons who have registered to speak will verbally be able to make representations to the panel. Each person who has registered to speak is requested to limit their presentation to 3 minutes. I would ask those persons that are invited to speak to the panel via Teams that they speak clearly and of a volume that will project into the speakers to assist those viewing the live streaming so they can hear clearly what is being said. To manage the live streaming process, all speakers should leave their camera and microphone turned off until their turn to speak is called. At this time, I remind everyone that defamatory, discriminatory or offensive language used may result in the author being exposed to liability for which council and the panel take no responsibility. Once we have heard all the oral submissions on a particular application, we will move on to the next application. Members of the public are free to continue to listen to the broadcast. The determination of the application will be made in closed session, which is not live streamed or recorded. The determination will be available on council's website once confirmed by the panel and usually within 2 to 3 days of the meeting. We will now call the first item. The first item is for Letitia Street, LPP 028-22 and LPP 029-22. I believe we have Anders on the line. I can see him. Good evening,
Good afternoon, panel members. Can you hear me?
Perfectly well. Thank you. Please proceed.
I just want to first of all thank council and the panel for your consideration of this matter. I registered to speak more or less just to answer any questions that the panel may have. It's been, as you may be aware, it's been a long journey for us with this application being submitted about 18 months ago. But we are obviously delighted with the result, I guess, or we concur with the council's recommendation for approval and with the draft conditions of the consent. So, like I said, I'm more or less here just to answer any questions that the panel may have.
Thank you very much. I'll ask the panel members if they have any questions. No? No questions. And you answered my question, which was going to be whether or not you had any concerns with the proposed conditions of consent. Do I take it that?
May I just ask, is this for, are we treating these as, is there, obviously there's two adjoining properties, are there two, are we addressing them separately or are they bunched up together in this meeting?
They're assessed as separate items, but and reported as such. But happy to take your submissions in total for the both projects, given that they.
Yeah, no. Only reason I asked is when you said there were being 3 people registered to speak, you didn't mention the second application or the second item. So I did register on that particular item as well. So. But again, I have no further comment on that one either. But we can address that when we get to that matter.
Okay, well, happy to hear from you if you had anything else specific. But I think the panel is satisfied. It doesn't have any specific questions for you on either of the applications. So unless there's something particular you also wanted to raise.
No, there isn't. Thank you.
Terrific. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
We do have Chris Palmer registered for the same item for the 2 Letitia Street projects. Chris, over to you.
Madam Chair, members of the panel, thanks very much. Much like Anders, I don't have anything to add necessarily, but I'm happy to take questions as required.
No, there's no questions from the panel, so thank you very much for attending.
No problem.
Thanks.
Thanks very much.
So that concludes the 2 development applications. Nicole's making faces at me. No. The 2 development applications for Letitia Street, Oakley. We have no speakers registered for the item in Carlton. So moving on to the item at Palmerston Street, Kogarah. Can I see Gillian Sneed there on the screen?
There we go.
Hi, Gillian. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair and panel. Equally, we are in the same position as the previous speakers. We are happy with the recommendation and all of the conditions of consent. and are available if there are any questions of the panel.
Terrific, thank you. We have had some discussion on this matter previously, and I think there might be some questions. Fiona?
Hi, my name's Fiona. I'm the community representative. It's more a question to the architect if he's available. I think is it Andrew?
Andrew is available, yes. Okay. I can hand over to Andrew.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yes, hello. I'm
Hi.
Andrew, project architect.
Hi, Andrew. Just a quick question. I'm looking at the ground floor plan, and I'm looking at the retail component. Primarily just the frontage of the retail to Palmerston Street, adjoining the booster. So the previously approved plans just show a booster there, and the proposed plans now indicate a car park exhaust, which has also been added along that frontage there. Is there a reason the car park exhaust is in that particular location? I just thought it would have been a good idea to maximise the extent of the retail glazing and frontage to Palmerston.
Yeah, of course. Look, there was a specific reason we needed to get the supply air duct into the car park from there. So if you can see on the left, it's actually pulling the air from Palmerston Street in and down into the building. Based from the mechanical consultant and with the location of the car parking below, it was the most efficient position that we could actually have this supply air duct work without it sort of impacting on either the retail space, or if we went further up towards Palmerston Street, unfortunately that's where we have the service departments, so we were unable to bring any supply or car park supply air in through there. So it essentially sort of, sorry,
I'm not sure what you mean. So you couldn't fit it further up. There is a landscape sort of strip.
The site is sloping, so it slopes down towards the retail component. Yes, if we'd moved it further up the slope of the hill, we would be then impacting into the service departments, which sit in a split level.
Yeah. And where was it before? Like, was it drawn on the plans before, or?
It wasn't drawn on the plans before. It's been subsequent since the previous approval that we've obviously had input from mechanical and other services consultants, and that's when our car park provision was then put in.
Is that the smallest it can be made?
It was the smallest that it could be made for the servicing the amount of car parking area that we required. Unfortunately, as I said, it works. It has to essentially go down all the levels of the car park. So its location being in that corner position is quite important to be able to go down all the layers.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, there's no further questions for the panel, so thank you very much. Was there anything else that the applicant's team would like to comment on before we close the meeting?
I don't have anything else, and unless there's any other questions.
No further question. We did have Benjamin listed, but if that was just purely to answer questions, perhaps, or
yes, it was.
Okay.
Yes, it was. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Well, on that basis, there are no other speakers registered for this evening's meeting, so I draw this meeting to a close and thank you for your attendance. And it is now